When you're live. You're live, Steve.
Well, good evening, neighbors. This is a meeting of the Upper West Side Coalition of Block Associations and Community Groups. We're a nonprofit organization that has brought together block and neighborhood associations and many Upper West Side nonprofit organizations, all of us dedicated to our community and appreciating how fortunate we are to live or work, or increasingly both, within this community. Before we begin this forum on public safety, I just want to start to remind everyone that if you would like to start a block association, perhaps revive one, or just learn about block associations, please reach out to us. Our website is in the chat, upperwestsidecoalition.org. Email us at upperwestsidecoalition@gmail.com. We are all about the Upper West Side block by block. Just a few shout outs. As always, appreciation to an awesome neighbor and longtime civic activist, Mark Diller, who helps us figure out some key technical matters and much more. That's Mark D, his rapper name. And we're joined for the first time by another Mark, Mark Moss of Harish Studios, as we professionally personalize and try to get a better handle on making sure the Zoom and YouTube presentations are really well done. Welcome, Mark. Lastly, a major thank you to a key member of this coalition from the start, handling so much of our communications, and the editor of our newsletter, Liz DeVito from the West 83rd Street Block Association. Liz is not from the 83rd Street Block Association, is she, Gail?
No.
And Liz has some additional adventures on her schedule, so we want to wish her great travel. So communications mavens, we're in need of your assistance. Please be in touch, as we have a newsletter, we send out tweets, we manage a website, and we send out so many emails. So once again this evening, we are focusing upon issues regarding public safety. We are pleased to be joined by the commanding officers of two of the NYPD precincts on the Upper West Side, the 20th and the 24th, and a representative from the Central Park precinct. We are respectful of the responsibilities you have assumed in leading your commands and appreciative of the opportunity to speak with you this evening and have our community speak with you. So, please welcome Deputy Inspector Candida Punsullivan from the 20th Precinct. Put a hand up there if you could. Captain Noreen Lazarus from the 24th Precinct, thank you. And Captain Anthony Levino at the NYPD Central Park Precinct has just been pulled away to deal with some matters. So we're pleased to be joined by Detective Luis Morera from the precinct's Community Affairs team. And thank you for filling in for your CO. And we promise to be especially kind, Detective, and appreciate that you are jumping in here. So before we begin with questions, both from our community and from those who have been sent in advance, and there's quite a few, we'd like to ask you to each introduce yourselves and to very briefly just give us your view of where you think you're at in your command regarding public safety issues. And again, briefly, because we'll get into it more. I am in the 20th Precinct. We have welcomed very recently a new commanding officer, so I have to ask her to go first. Deputy Inspector Punsullivan, would you please kick us off?
Good evening. Thank you, Steve. Thank you for everyone for joining us. Thank you for the coalition for sponsoring this gathering. Sorry, I just went black. I have almost 20 years. This July, I'll have 20 years with the NYPD department. I started out my career in Midtown South. I patrolled there for 6 years, the 412 patrol. Then I went to the Bronx. I was a sergeant there for 4 years. I did patrol up to the Bronx. After that, I got promoted to a lieutenant. I was a lieutenant at 33 for a year and a half. Did day tour patrol there. And then I decided to go into administrative leave for like 5 years. I did 1 year in Risk Management Bureau and 4 years in Legal Bureau. So, I'm familiar with different avenues of the department. After that, I decided to take the captain's exam. I got promoted in 2020, and this few months down to the Bronx, and then I got my first command in Queens. So the 2-0, I was fortunate enough to, you know, apply for the 2-0 precinct and interview for it. And I was blessed to receive as my second command this past December. So I've been here for 2 months. My take on public safety, where I feel that we're at is, it's ever changing. It's constantly changing with the times and what's going on. And each neighborhood is unique. It has special needs. My goal is to listen to each and every one of you as a community member, and actually try to protect the community member and try to make a difference out there with you guys. So this is a working relationship with you, and I hope to build it, as I progress in my tenure here in the next like 2-3 years. So that's what I have, Steve.
Thank you. And of course, welcome again to the precinct, and congratulations. Captain Lazarus, 24th Precinct. We knew you in the 20th Precinct a few years ago when you came by. I think you were a lieutenant, maybe. You were a lieutenant. And we're glad to have you just a few steps north. Please share your thoughts with us.
Sure. Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm Noreen Lazarus. I'm the commanding officer of the 24th Precinct. I've been here for a year. So today is my 1-year anniversary, February 13th, 2023. So I've been here a year. Yes, I'm very happy. Prior to this, I was a lieutenant in the 2-0. So I loved my time in the 2-0, where I did special operations and the administrative lieutenant. I've had a few assignments in between, but I'm happy to be your neighbor in the 2-4, for those in the 2-0. So my year in the 2-4 has been great. I enjoy my community council meetings. It's a chance where I get to understand what the issues and concerns of the public are. I read my crime stats, I read my crime complaints, but I do enjoy hearing the personal conversations. In this past year, we have common themes that are, carry throughout the year. Our concerns are largely traffic driven. Our concerns are grand larceny driven. So grand larceny auto, grand larceny scams. So these are just common things through the year that we deal with. What Inspector Punsullivan said is true. It's very fluid. So while we have our constant themes, we're always changing to new trends, new developments. We could be focusing on robberies one week, and then in the next week, we could change direction and we're dealing with grand larceny auto. So it's very fluid. But where I see our constant crime themes are generally grand larceny driven, and then always our traffic concerns. So it's been a good year. We ended 2023 down to 2.5% in crime. So I take that as a big win. Every crime less is one less victim. So it was a good number to show a decrease in. We showed decreases in 4 of the 7 major categories, and we did a phenomenal job with that. We showed an increase in traffic summonses. So moving forward in 2024, which I'm sure we're going to get to, I want to see the constant engagement of our officers, and it's there. When you look at our crime numbers, when you look at our moving summonses, we're involved, we're engaged. It's complicated. The criminal justice system is complicated, but I can assure you that we're doing our part. So, and I'm sure we're going to get into that more.
Thanks so much. We will get into it. Detective Morera, please introduce yourself and tell us what your thoughts are about the current situation with safety issues and public safety in the Central Park precinct. We can't hear you. We cannot hear you. Do not look to be muted, but we can't hear you. Unfortunately, we are not hearing you. Something with your mic or some change? Not yet. We still cannot hear you. We'll give you another moment to try to do something. Maybe sign off and sign on again if you've got a problem. I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on and then come back to you. Okay? So when we asked people to submit questions that they would like raised with the commanding officers on the Upper West Side, a majority of those questions were focused upon the issues related to bikes, motorbikes, mopeds, and everything that is associated with public safety about those issues. So I don't want to spend the entire forum on that, but I do think in response to the interest in this issue throughout our community, I bunched together a few of the questions that have come in, and then we'll go to the we'll go to the Zoom room and see what we have here. If I can start with you again, Deputy Inspector, to respond to, I've got 3 different comments from people all on the same thing. Judy, who lives on West 67th Street for more than 30 years, and by the way, referred to the 3 commanding officers as these brave individuals. That's how they feel about you. Wants to know how we might be able to learn with accuracy the number of people killed or injured directly from bikes of all types, bike only, and not included with all motor vehicle things. How do we know specifically? So that's what Judy said. Janice, who calls herself a concerned senior from Lincoln Square, she says she doesn't see police ever dealing with issues related to motorized bikes in her area, doesn't see that. And Carol from 81st Street is asking, are there specific programs to guide pedestrians in the street? Because it feels so dangerous. Is that part of Vision Zero? Because she feels it's degrading the quality of life. So these 3 questions, I ask for your thoughts, Deputy Inspector, in response to these 3 neighbors of ours who've shared those comments.
So, with the fatality, I believe.
We can't hear you. So we're technically not doing well here.
About the numbers collision. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Deputy
Yes.
Inspector,
Yeah.
maybe you
Go ahead.
want to turn, Deputy
Go ahead.
Inspector, maybe you want to turn your video off because I think you're having a bandwidth issue.
I have a, excuse me?
Yeah, just try again.
I have
If we have a problem, you have to turn off your video and just we'll hear audio only. But first, please respond. Let's see if this.
Oh, okay. So to my understanding, there was one fatality last year that was on the west side, like the extreme west side on somewhere on Riverside Drive. But other than that, there's really no fatality for this year. Knock on wood for this year. The collision aspect of it, I have 2 traffic safety officers that's dedicated to enforce traffic rules. And each one of my officers also are out there. They have been issuing summonses throughout the area. You have to understand the area is quite large in the sense of traffic. There's a lot of flowing parts to it. They are out there enforcing the quality of life. We confiscated a couple of weeks ago, we confiscated about 32, 33 scooters and removed them off the streets. There is a DOT program currently on that are they are out surveying the area for abandoned bikes. And if they see an abandoned bike in the same location, I don't know, I believe like for a week or so, they bring the bikes in and we voucher them too. So there are various programs that are out there to issue, to address the bike issues, whether it's coming from motorcycles to scooters to electric bikes that are just, parked out on the street and not getting moved. So there are various programs out there. Like I said, we do joint ops with the 2-4 precinct and Central Park. We do moped operations. We have locked a few people up that we apprehended with stolen bikes. So, it is happening all nights, all hours of the day. So it's not necessarily when they actually see them that they're out there, but we are out there addressing these issues that you brought up tonight.
Well, thanks. We're gonna dig in.
And like I said, we're okay, but we're constantly talking to each other. Noreen, Anthony, we're constantly talking with our other CEOs in the region about current trends that are happening. And it's changing, it's ever changing, and we all on a weekly basis, or not even like every other day, bi-weekly basis, we're in contact with each other on these issues.
Okay, let's bring back our detective who got knocked off here. So maybe I could throw it to you, these questions, as a way to introduce you to our audience. So James from the West 79th Street Block Association is upset that he's seeing what he termed motorized contraptions of all sorts on the bike paths in Central Park, and being told by police various reasons why it's not being stopped. And Jeff from Columbus and 100th Street would like to know what types of vehicles are in fact legally permitted to use bike lanes, not only in the park, but in the park and outside the park. So I think we've given you a couple as a way to introduce yourself to us and get us started, Detective. Thank you.
I just want to make sure, am I clear? Can you hear me?
You're good.
All right. Sorry about before. Just real quick, I just want to say thank you to everyone, and I understand that I'm in a realm with giants, and I appreciate everyone that that's letting me speak. The Captain Levino, I know I'm representing for him, but he has a lot of experience both on the east side and the west side, which makes him the perfect element for Central Park. He has experience from both sides of the park, so he understands what needs to be done inside the park. I remember when I was in crime, I used to run into Captain Levino as a lieutenant in the 2-0. So he understands what comes in and what stays in the park and what can come out of it. And when it comes to your questions, I'm going to say, because I'm part of the boots on the ground, it's very interesting what you're telling me, because I am a Central Park nerd to the fullest extent. And what I mean by that is that the little things count. And when I say the little things, I mean people going the right way, counterclockwise around the 6 Mile Loop. Pedicabs being on any path that doesn't involve the 6 Mile Loop. Little things like that, it's why we've had such great quality inside Central Park. And I don't disagree with this person when it comes to the confusion of both motorized vehicles, bicycles, electric bicycles. There's just so many options now today that you look at it and you think, what exactly is that? Now, recently they passed that electric bikes are allowed inside Central Park. So I can understand why this person doesn't really understand or what is allowed. Anything motorized is not going to be allowed inside Central Park. Inside that 6 Mile Loop, especially, we've taken so many scooters. I don't know if you guys follow us on our social media, but we have countless amount of scooters that we picked up and stopped. And I want to thank the 2-0 and the 2-4 for doing joint operations with us, because I've been there myself, where we've all just come together. When it comes to the west side, a very interesting spot is the 96 transverse, where we try to stop any scooter that's coming in, especially the motorized ones. The 90 in Central Park West is another one. Anything that comes into the park, we try to stop them. Either if it's an illegal motorized vehicle, we take them. And when it comes to the dirt paths, if me personally, I make sure that if I do see a motorized vehicle, if I do see an electric bike, if I do also see the tourist that doesn't know the rules and regulations of Central Park, it has to be spoken. And we try to spread that word amongst all of our officers. And coming from someone that speaks to the other officers and lets them know, listen, this is what's allowed and this is what's not allowed. It doesn't matter what country they're from. It doesn't matter if they're delivering food. We all have to, all together abide by the Central Park rules and regulations. And there's a reason why we all love Central Park, and it's because of the quality of life that we've been keeping it. And if you can send me the contact to that person, I would love to have a conversation with them, just to update them and what we're doing, because we've been continuously trying to monitor the pedicabs who they can be very nuisance in Central Park. And we've vouchered over 80 pedicabs this year alone. And just to let them know that the quality of life is changing, and we understand the person's frustration, but just give us time, especially as the time as temperatures heat up. We would like to definitely make a difference when it comes to our paths, because we know exactly which route this person's talking about, and we definitely want to make the quality of life when they enjoy Central Park to be better.
Thanks so much, Detective. Kevin Lazarus, we're going to get to you with a few questions that have been submitted, but I want to go to Eric from West 89th Street Block Association to pose a question to you about a very specific issue related to this area of bikes. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, hi, thanks, Steve. Good evening, everyone. My question is this. If cars and trucks are not allowed to drive on sidewalks, why not fully enforce the same rules of the road for motorized scooters and bikes? After all, these vehicles do have engines, should carry a license tag, which would, bring in some more revenue, which I'm sure the city would like. They should also have sensible forward and rear lighting at night, but they should also use the roadways. And personally, as a senior pedestrian, I've had several near collisions with powered two-wheelers. Luckily, I can tell the tale. The situation seems to be, to me, rather unenforced and dangerous, but I'm listening to what the officers are telling me. So I guess there's some hope. Thanks.
Sure. Hi, sir. How are you today?
Hi.
So this is common in our community council meetings and my conversations with the community, the concerns that you're expressing. We take enforcement, and we have statistics to prove it when it comes to electric scooters, motorcycles, mopeds, and we enforce what we can enforce. If there's a suggestion that you have in terms of particular laws and legislations, then our city council people are the appropriate people to talk to. The legislators, they would be the ones that could pass any additional laws that are enforceable. So just in talking general about enforcement and what we see with bikes and motorbikes, we're out there and we give summonses. And I do hear people, and they say, well, we don't see it. We still see the bikes. We're not going to be able to ticket everybody. We're not going to be able to stop every bicycle that's on the sidewalk. But we do a very good job with enforcement. All of our traffic stat numbers are posted. In 2023, we've issued over 8,600 summonses in this area. We've issued over, I'm looking at our stats now, out of those, over 540 bicycle summonses alone. So we take the enforcement. Is it enough? The traffic, the motorbikes are increasing. People are utilizing them as ways to conduct business, to get around. So we're seeing more and more, and we have to up our enforcement a bit. But I just, we are out there. Our numbers show we're out there, and we're enforcing it. And I understand the concern.
let me
I
jump in with
absolutely
two
understand.
questions. The questions just related to what you're saying. Natalie, who lives on West 87th
Yeah.
Street, asks, when police decide to intervene, ticket, or even arrest someone who rides the bike through a red light, what are the determining factors of when police decide to stop someone, ticket someone, or arrest someone? And aren't they violating the laws and therefore subject to those things? And Polly, one of our neighbors, says, don't some of these vehicles have to have license plates? Isn't that a requirement for some of them, like motorcycles?
So I think we're talking about a lot of different things. And, you know, our Central Park detective is awesome there laying things out for us. But, you know, we are talking about a lot of different, we're talking about bicycles, then we have e-bikes, then we have mopeds, then we have motorcycles. We have a lot of classifications. And these classifications all have different rules and regulations. For that first question, I believe, Polly, you said, was it about a bicycle going through a red light and what makes a cop decide to stop them? So our officers in the 24th precinct and like all other precincts all have different roles and responsibilities. I have patrol officers that are out there responding to 911, 311 calls. I have officers that are NCO officers that basically handle any of our major trends, whether it's a robbery or whether it's a community complaint on Broadway. I have public safety officers that are going out in unmarked cars looking for violent crimes like robberies. So we have, and then I have traffic officers that are solely devoted to enforcing traffic regulations. Then we have certain areas that we deploy them to that we know that we have a high concentration of that violation. So, you know, if a cop is there and a bicyclist goes through a red light and that cop doesn't stop that bicyclist, it's not that the cop is not doing their job. You know, they could be on an assignment, they could be, you know, working on something else. So I get that question a few times, why I saw a cop do absolutely nothing when a bicyclist ran by. Like I said before, we are not going to be able to stop everybody that commits a bicycle violation. You know, our traffic enforcement is tasked mainly to our traffic officers. However, all of our officers within the 2-4 precinct are involved in traffic safety. They all write summonses throughout the month, testify at traffic court. So we're all involved. But typically, we task that to our traffic safety officers. And they are handling motorized vehicles. They are handling bicycles. They are handling a lot. Motorcycles, mopeds, yes, they require license plates. And when they don't have license plates, that's when we can confiscate them. And so, you know, just to give you an idea, at the end of 2023, we had about 250 motorcycle moped confiscations within the 2-4 precinct. And those are bikes just as described that require a license plate that don't have a license plate. So we take them into police custody. So you know, you know, the one thing that I like to just reinforce over and over is that we're out there, we are working, we are writing summonses, we are taking bikes off the street, and you know, we're doing it. We are absolutely doing our part. If there's
So,
other
Captain, we don't doubt your
Yeah.
attempt, and we don't
very
doubt that.
passionate about this because
Yeah.
I hear this concern
That's
so
okay.
so
It's
much. Yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
doubt that it's complex, but I just want to say that to many on the Upper West Side, it feels like there's a turf war out there,
Sure.
fighting for every inch of the
Yeah.
street and now fighting for every inch on the sidewalk.
Sure.
And it feels to so many like uncontrolled chaos.
And
it's not only for
Sure.
old people, it's also for young people.
Yeah, and I agree. And you know, I'm a road user, but I do think it's all involved. I think when I see vehicles, you know, and we've issued, like I said, over 8,000 summonses to vehicles that aren't respecting the rules of the road. Jaywalking, which we traditionally do not enforce, is atrocious. When I'm walking down when I'm driving, especially when I turn up to get off the Henry Hudson and I'm going up 96, 97, I cannot go through the block without having to stop at the red light because people, my green light, people are just walking, and that is all ages. That is younger people, older people, people with children, bicycle carriages, people of all ages are just disobeying the crosswalk as well. So you're right, it is a turf war, and everybody has a role to play in it. So, you know, as police, we're out there, we're enforcing our bikes, we're enforcing our vehicles, and then I think pedestrians, you know, even on this call, need to be mindful about how they're using the road. Are you crossing within the crosswalk? Are you crossing against the signal? Just because you think you can make it across the street before the light turns, you know, that's very dangerous to cars that are obeying the speed limit but still need to cross. So you're right. It's all three categories are not respecting the rules that they, you know, that they need to abide by.
You can appreciate that. We want you to fix all those
I'm
problems.
gonna fix it all.
Okay.
It's
All those
2024.
problems.
It will
Okay.
all be fixed.
Okay, we're going to move on to other topics. It doesn't mean we've resolved any of these, but at least I think the sentiment. Gail Dubov really does live on West 83rd Street and heads that block association. I misspoke and said who we were saluting, Liz DeVito, who lives on 75th Street. But Gail is one of those people who helped move this organization forward and has a question for you, Captain. I believe, wait, you know, you have a question for the 20th precinct, right, Gail? Go ahead. You're on mute.
Yeah, okay. My question really centers around the smoke shops. I have noticed that there's like more and more popping up all over the neighborhood. I walk down Broadway and it seems like every block there's another smoke shop, Amsterdam smoke shops. I just want to know, are there some controls on these smoke shops? Are there police supervising them? Are they checking in on them? What's going on in terms of supervision with these smoke shops?
So, the per se, the NYPD doesn't have a supervision on the smoke shops. We are monitoring the smoke shops to make and doing operations on smoke shops that seems to be not buying by the rules. But in general, overall, smoke shops. There's several jurisdictions that are under the smoke shops. There's the sheriff's department that are, you know, enforcing smoke shop rules and regulations. You have to, you know, I'm working with Gail Brewer with identifying problematic smoke shops and, you know, and trying to do some sort of enforcements, you know, and trying to close some of them down. The one by Brandeis High School was shut down for a little while and they were able to open that up. There's some stipulation agreement with the courts about the limitation of what they're not supposed to, you know, sell marijuana. So I am working with Legal Bureau on that. I have to go out. We can't, you know, just close them down because there has to be some sort of operation that has to be made. It has to be a certain amount of operation executed. It has to be done the right way or it's going to get thrown out of court. Then we have to go present it to, and work with Legal Bureau and present it to the courts to try and get some of these smoke shops closed down. But overall, in general, I mean, I know Gail Brewer is trying to work with legislatures, trying to limit smoke shops and to try to have them a certain distance away from schools, especially, you know, because young people shouldn't be smoking it right before school. And I know that's an issue that's going on in our area actually in the 80s.
Is there some supervision about,
So,
I mean, checking in on them to see that they're not selling to minors, that they're legally,
no.
you know, because I happened to pass one on Amsterdam Avenue recently.
That's the sheriff's office.
That's the sheriff. So that is not under police
The sheriff's
jurisdiction.
office.
Okay, thank you.
Well, we do operations, but the sheriff's office are really the most head of the person, to regulate. There's no real regulations. I mean, they're not supposed to sell to minors. Those are, those are rules. And we go in to do operations to see if they're selling for minors, and we have to do them the correct way. Or, if we don't do it the correct way, there's a certain procedure we have to do to make sure. We have to use a certain person. We have to do, there's an operational that's on us to execute, and it has to be a certain amount of times. It has to be spaced apart. It can't be all in one day. You have to understand, or it just gets thrown out of court. The judge is not going to go for it. It's going to be a waste of time for everyone that's involved. You know what I mean? Like, we want to make meaningful operations and make sure that they stick once we present a case to court.
All right, thank you.
But it's not easy. You know what I mean? Like, Yale is working with legislation to try and address this situation as well.
All right,
Okay,
thank you.
thanks very much.
Let's move on. Dale Brown, West 79th Street Block Association, Director of the Coalition. You had a question also, a 20th Precinct question, I believe.
Yes, I did. Deputy Inspector Sullivan, there are several shelters on the Upper West Side of different types. How much police engagement is there within the precinct in connection with these different shelters?
Well, we do have 2 migrant shelters that's in the confines of the 2O. The one on 70th Street, I do have 2 police officers there. That's there 24/7, 7 days a week right now. The other shelter that's located on 85th Street, there's no police presence. At the moment, it's not, it's not problematic, that shelter. To put an officer in certain location, there's, we have to put it in the right locations, if there's problematic, any history and stuff like that. So like I said, on 85th Street shelter, there's really, it's not really, it's not problematic in my, we haven't had any issues with that one.
Let me
So
switch
like I
to
said,
Gary. Let's switch to Gary.
those are the 2 main shelters.
Right. Gary Pelton is our treasurer on our board, and he lives on West 70th Street. Gary, you had a question also about shelters, right?
You're muted, Gary.
Yeah, now it's probably easier to hear me.
Yes.
I live down the block from West 70th, from Stratford Arms. Okay, and I see the 2 officers there almost every time I walk by. Okay, and other than a large number of bicycles and e-bikes and so forth, they're parked and chained to the streets. I haven't noticed much of any change since the immigrants came, and so I was wondering. And some people have said that there's just massive problems, and I just don't notice it. And I go by there almost every day, and I just see nothing different. I see more people, but that's not a surprise. Are there any real issues with the immigrants that are there, and how are the precinct addressing the issues other than just having more officers there?
No, I mean, if there's a 911 call there, we go in, we address it, we handle it just like any other people. It's not necessarily whether they're migrants or not. We handle and we treat them just like any other residents in the Upper West Side. Whether if it's an ADA case, we call an ambulance. Whether it's a domestic case, we handle it and we fill out the domestic incident report, the complaint report, or all these reports that we normally would fill out, and all the services that we normally will render to any other residents in the Upper West Side, they receive the same treatment as well. If we happen to go there and there's an assault that occur, they do get arrested just like anyone else that lives in the Upper West Side. So there's really no differential treatment. I mean, in that sense, there's nothing that really stands out as much in that area, per se, but as it goes, it's very fluent, wherever there's a situation. I mean, we're not particularly there to be their security per se and to be inside. We're there to be outside to make sure nothing does.
Yeah, I see them. There are some people that are in panic, and I just don't understand the level of panic. Okay, so I don't know if it's a lot worse now, or
So, but we're there to make sure the community is safe. So there's, like I said, there's nothing in particular that's really problematic there.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you.
Detective, I got a question for you about Central Park. In the bad old days, Central Park was a scary place. And there are a lot of citizens who worry that, in fact, Central Park might not be a good place to be when it's not bright and sunny. And even then, is there a reason for concern about the crime levels and what's happening these days in Central Park?
Absolutely not. I like to have conversation with people who are mature than even myself. I'm only saying this because you've seen the roller coaster of Central Park. If the statistics of the 60s, 70s, 80s, early 90s are nowhere near the minimal numbers that we have now. The highest concern that we have is that we are up year to date 2 more robberies than last year. But when you talk about where Central Park came from to where it is now, this is completely minimal. Our biggest target right now is going to be quality of life. We believe in if you take care of the small things, the big things can be deflected. So, for instance, if they see us out there, speaking to these electric motorized scooters that are going the wrong way, if officers see just anything that looks rare, uncommon, just to show a presence can make a huge difference. With the recent robberies, and this is only 2 robberies that we have more than last year, we've assembled 1 sergeant and 8 officers to be out there every Friday and Saturday night. I myself was part of it. We were out there just completely showing enforcement throughout the area. And both from the lower end all the way up from 59th Street all the way up to 110th Street. We cover a large body of Manhattan. And it's the small things that count for us. So my answer to you is absolutely not. I can't see Central Park being a dangerous place. It still is the safest park in the world compared to how many people visit. The millions of people that visit Central Park in a year compared to how much crime we have is completely minimal. So hopefully we can continue this. But I have all the confidence that we're just going to continue to be the safest park in the world for everyone to visit.
Thanks very much, Detective.
No problem.
Neil Burson is a member of our board of directors, one of the leaders of the West 90s Neighborhood Association. Neil, you've got a question, I believe, for Captain Lazarus.
I do. We've talked about a lot of different things involving public safety and threats to it. I'm going to serve another one up on your plate, Captain Lazarus. We all know that congestion pricing is coming, and with the effective date of it, which is not yet determined, what challenges do you expect congestion pricing to pose in the 2-4 precinct? And the second part of the question is, how do you plan to address those challenges, including to parking, to traffic flow, to crowded subway stations for commuters, et cetera?
Sure. So congestion pricing, that's going to be quite interesting. And I think a lot of us are, will be adjusting and being fluid as we see how it directly affects the neighborhood. I haven't received any assessments maybe from Department of Transportation about exactly or about what they would predict the traffic flow around the 24th precinct to be in regards to that. My understanding is that, one of the ways to circumvent going into suggestion pricing is to utilize the Henry Hudson Parkway. So yes, is that question that cars going to divert off of that around 96th Street and then take local roads and then park somewhere? A lot of that is going to have to be, as it goes on, we're going to have to adapt to it. So it's a little hard to say exactly now, but what I can say is that we're going to have to adapt to that, meaning what conditions we see, we're going to have to react. So that might mean not just 24th precinct personnel, but looking at traffic. Are we going to need additional traffic agents somewhere? Are we going to need additional traffic enforcement in terms of parking summonses somewhere? So these are the things that I'm thinking about in advance. In terms of subway, I speak frequently with the CO of Transit at 96th Street, Captain Rios. He deploys his personnel out to 96 and Broadway. So again, we're going to have to say, okay, look at that. Are we seeing additional, is it more crowded? Increased ridership at this particular subway station. So there are a lot of factors to consider that you just brought up. And I have a lot of partners. It's not just going to fall on, let's say, the 24th precinct. I'm going to have to enlist traffic. I'm going to have to enlist transit. And we're going to have to be very quick and fluid as we see the effects of this, and it's going to be interesting. And I think the whole city is in the same boat that I am in, right? And the 20 precinct, the 19th precinct, we stop at 86, so we have a good 25 block buffer, to see, okay, our car's going to divert and start parking in neighborhoods on side streets, taking the subway down. So it's something that, I expect to hear a lot from the community, from the block associations about what they're seeing on their block, if they're seeing, increased vehicles that are not residents. So I expect to get a lot of information from them. But, thank you for bringing it up because it's coming soon. It definitely is. And yeah, we're going to have to be very fluid and quick when we react.
And I'll follow it up with a question from Betty from West End Avenue,
Sure.
who says that there are so many trucks driving on West End Avenue, and her understanding is they're supposed to drop off and then get off West End Avenue,
Right.
but it's not a truck route.
It's
So,
not.
so who enforces that? Who does anything about that?
Sure. Yeah, so we have our truck routes are Broadway and Columbus, and right now we see Amazon doing a lot of deliveries, and I think maybe that might be what she observes, and I've heard complaints where they've taken up, a whole entire driving lane where they unload, and then so that's something that my traffic unit, but I want help with that. So what I would have to do is talk to my partners downtown in our transportation bureau and get our citywide traffic task force up for some time, whether it's a day or two, or and see and get a little bit more enforcement to target that area. What is helpful for me is to know if community complaints and 311s are helpful with times of day. If there's a particular day and a particular time of day that this is more prevalent, helps me. We're dealing with, we have a lot of limited resources. So what's helpful is when we can narrow down and say, oh, it's Tuesday between 9 and 11. Okay, now I know I can say, let me get these personnel here. So that information is really useful. But I listen, I hear that, and it's something that I'll look to see what we can gain more information on so we can take some enforcement.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Deputy Inspector, Fritz and Leah are from West 70th Street, and they have reported homeless encampments between 69th and 70th Street till 311. And they say the encampments are blocking entrances to some places there. What are they supposed to do about that other than keep calling 311? And what's the engagement of the precinct regarding dealing with encampments, she wonders?
Well, where exactly is the location again? 69 to 70 on Broadway?
I think it might be, not sure, but generally, how are is this issue supposed to be dealt with by citizens?
So there's a gentleman that's camped at 2025 Broadway that we are very familiar with. We have gone out, we have offered him services. Department of Homeless Services has gone out and spoken to him several times already throughout the whole year. He is not accepting any of our services. We offer him numerous other services. A couple of weeks ago, the whole borough had an initiative. We went out with social services and people on like the later tour. It was like kind of like a modified midnight tour. They did hit certain spots that are frequented by homeless people and did the same and offer services and shelters and they unless they are really doing harm to ourselves, we try to give them every other avenue to to try and accept these services. If they do, we provide transportation. I mean, I came from housing. We had the same issues there. We provide transportation for homeless people to go to these services, but some of them accepted and some of them declined. So, but I am familiar with that person. We have spoken to him several times throughout the year. And like I said, the Department of Homeless Services have spoken to him as well.
Thank you.
But
Well,
I mean,
go ahead.
no, I mean, is he causing a threat or harm to anyone? If that's the case, that's totally different. Like if he's assaulted anyone, if he damaged anyone's property, that's a whole different story. He would be treated just like any other person and be arrested if he commits a crime. But I mean, other than that, we try our best to, talk to them about accepting these services.
Thank you. We're gonna close up in about 5 minutes, but just to keep peace in my own household, I have to call on my wife, my spouse, who has a question also. V?
Hi, I was wondering about the fact that I believe some of the newest police officers that have just graduated from the academy have been deployed to the Upper West Side. I think this question is for Captain Lazarus, but is it true that we have fewer cops in the precinct than we used to have? And are you still actually short-staffed?
So we are down from our head count in previous years. We lose cops to retirement, to promotions when they get promoted to sergeants, or to assignments to the Detective Bureau or to other units. So we are down a head count from our previous years. In this last class, we got 5. Currently they are posted, in areas that I see that I see issues happening. Amsterdam Avenue right now is where they're at. Some days I will put them on Broadway. I will put them on Columbus. Certain areas where I see some higher crime trends. So we got 5. I think in 2023 we had a total of 13 assigned to the 2-4 throughout the year. They came at different times. As we get a few once there's a graduating class. So last summer we had them, and then they were deployed for the summer to another precinct, a higher crime precinct. So the deployment and the allocation is done at a higher level. So I'm happy. They're good. They're great. We got 5 cops. They're excited. It's nice to see them excited. I tell them every day that I want them to talk to 5 people in the community when they're standing out on foot. You walk up, you introduce yourself, you say hello, and they've enjoyed doing that. And then I ask them about that at the end of their tour, who they talk to. And they've enjoyed doing it, and I think the community enjoys having that engagement.
If you don't mind, I would just want to add to Noreen.
Please.
The 2L also received 5. but we're more than happy if you know any family members that would like to join the NYPD. We would highly suggest that they come on board. We have a good pension system. We have health benefits. It's 212 recruit. We are more than looking for new hires for the department to continue, because Noreen and I could only be around for a couple more years. We're going towards the end of our career. Public servant, is a fulfilling job, giving back to the community. I certainly say I grew up in the city. I decided to take this job. It wasn't, something I was thinking of growing up, but, giving back to the community is something I really fulfilled, at the end of the day. I'm very happy of what I chose. It's, and a lot of times, sometimes it's thankless, but I think at the end, I did the right choice by giving back to, the city of New York.
Well, thanks for sharing that. Obviously, I think you know that so many of us in our community care very much, but there is a degree of concern about public safety. I think you can sense that. I think people are concerned that perhaps as it gets warmer, there might be a little more challenges as there have been historically. But I think we want to be optimistic. We want to join with you and collaborate with you and be supporters of you, even though, as I said earlier, we want you to fix all the problems that we have within your commands, please. So final words, if you can, on how you're feeling, what you're looking forward to, what your message is to our community briefly. Detective, why don't you lead us off on your, as you look in your, sort of eyeglass to the future, what are you seeing?
So being here for over 10 years and planning on being here for another 10 years, I look into the future to be appreciative of Central Park the way it was appreciated during the pandemic. I never seen more New Yorkers appreciate Central Park until it became everyone's backyard and the only place to go. So I hope to continue that and be the oasis that New York City needs. And hope to see everybody at any time. Please stop by, ask for myself or Captain Lamino, and we'd love to give you a tour of the precinct. Thank you.
Thank you. Detective, thanks for filling in, especially because I know it wasn't on your schedule for today. Deputy Inspector, you have some final thoughts for us?
Look, I just got here. I look forward to building this relationship with the community and working with Noreen and Anthony to address the community concern. At the end of the day, you guys are our, have our backs, and we know it. I felt that at the last community council meeting, this is a special group of people here, and I hope that, I'm going to try and make you guys proud and try bring the two out to the next level together.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It was really excellent. Thank you.
Captain Lazarus?
Yes, my final words is I'm excited, 2024. I like my job. I like coming in every day and I smile 98% of the time. And I like to bring that energy to the officers. I want them to go out there. I want them to engage the public. I want their interactions to be as positive as possible, even at times it's not going to be. I appreciate the support of the community. I like my community council meetings and I encourage anybody to come and attend. It's valuable information for me to learn. So final words is I'm optimistic. I am. I think at least the cops and the 2-0 Central Park, you've got some devoted cops who appreciate where they are, who know where they are is a special place. And they do great police work. They do such great police work. And it's really exciting to watch them grow and see them become better officers. And when I lose them to promotions and when I lose them to other units, I see them moving on and I'm sad to see them go, but it's great to see them move on in their careers. So 2024, I'm optimistic. I'm excited to be here. And, we work hard. We work very hard to make you guys feel safe and to make you be able to enjoy your home.
Thank you so much. We are fortunate to have you as the commander of the 24th and the commander of the 20th. And we'll get Anthony to join us one of these times. And thanks for making yourselves available tonight. And thanks, neighbors. Thanks, friends who are in the room where it's happening and on YouTube where it's showing.
Thank
So,
you, Steve.
okay. Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone. Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Be well, everybody.
Thanks, Neil.